Good day. In this next video, I am doing a painting demonstration of the beautiful Soutpansberg mountain range. It's an area in South Africa in the Limpopo province, known for its beautiful topography of scenic mountains and indigenous trees, fauna and flora. There can be found baobabs there and the beautiful fever tree. And it's really a very inspiring landscape to paint, to draw. And I really enjoy painting this specific area. Now, for this next painting, I have used a few references. And I am showing you in this demonstration how to use more than just one reference in order to build up your painting and create a really beautiful work of art. Okay, so let's begin. So we see the topography here. This is the mountains that I'm going to be using. That indicates the shape of these mountains and a nice beautiful winding road. I'll probably take out that tarred road and add in like a more sandy characteristic road. There's that fever tree behind that shrubby bush. It was just some fever tree that I was accidentally taking a photograph while passing by, and that's going to go into the painting. And there we have the sky. Beautiful. That is going to be the pivot. That is going to be dictating the overall mood of the picture, and I think those colors are going to go really well and create a great scheme. Now let's just look at our color palette. Titanium white, primary magenta, buff titanium, cad orange, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, French ultramarine blue, violet gray, Van Dyke brown, cadmium lemon, terra verte green, raw sienna, and cadmium red. So I just did a basic sketch using liquid medium and a brush to get an idea of the composition. And now I am working on those big shapes with a nice big square flat brush, using cobalt blue, a little cerulean, and a little bit of blue-grey for the light of the sky, going darker there with some French ultramarine and violet grey. And then for the highlight section, I'm not going too bright. I'm just using a little bit of cadmium orange, cadmium red, and buff titanium. I'm not using pure titanium white. I'm using buff titanium, which is a much darker, much more somber type of color. It doesn't just jump out at you, and it's very nice for the clouds. And then going with the mountains, I'm starting with this mountain on the left, just blocking it in as a big flat shape. And then there in the distance you can see I'm blocking in the mountains in the distance with a much more softer variation of my color that's got more grays in it, more Van Dyke brown, to get that gray, giving us the appearance of distance. And I'm blocking that in with a angled brush, which I just sort of like adjusted myself. I used a flat that I just kind of like cut off half of the brush in order to get an angled kind of a feel for a nice approach there. I'm working on the foreground, and I'm just generally working in these large shapes in their darkest forms. You really just want to get in the darks at this stage, as nice large shapes, keeping it very simple in the beginning. And now I am still well into my blocking there. And for the block in, I use a nuanced approach, creating the forms of the clouds and the textures of the mountains and the bushes in the foreground, and also to get more depth and variation into the flat-lying road that we see there. And it is in this stage that we start creating our light and dark dynamic, the lighting dynamic. This is where we can start seeing the lighting dynamic of the painting coming through. As for example, with the red highlights that are starting to appear on the mountains in the middle ground. So I decided to put in that fever tree that we were talking about earlier. And I start off with the darks first, using some Van Dyke brown, maybe a little bit of French ultramarine mixed into that to get a nice really deep dark there. And I'll first plot out the tree as a big shape, working from the biggest shapes and then gradually working the little details on it. And as you can see, the mountains, I've worked on the modeling there, and I'll continue working on the modeling of the mountains until I am satisfied with the level of detail I've got there. But at this stage, it's still pretty much just getting those darks to bring the picture together. And it's always the darker elements in your painting first that needs to be considered. If the dark is right, it carries the light. And if we want a good lighting dynamic, we need to have the darks underneath backing that lighting. So I'm adding in a pathway up the foothills of the mountains in the middle ground to help with the eye traveling in the picture and guiding the eye through different aspects of this painting, past those mountains in the distance, up to see the clouds and towards the tree over there. And it's just a subtle road, you know. Art's all about subtlety. But it adds a nice depth and dynamic look to the landscape, and it really feels that we are looking into the painting. When it comes to the bushes, I've already started modeling more using hog hair bristle brushes in order to get a more texturized and built up feel for the bushes in the foreground. And you'll also see that I use the hog hair brush to start working on the lights in the grass next to the dusty road. So I'm starting to put the highlights on that fever tree. And as you can see, the fever tree has got a very characteristic look to it, contrasting against the somber mountains in the background and the middle distance. And then I'm just starting to add in some highlights into the actual foliage of the tree using a hog bristle, using a bit of cadmium orange, cadmium yellow light, and a little bit of terverte green. And then I'm working on those bushes, bringing stronger light in and just gradually building up the lighting dynamic. And it's not that I totally destroy what I have done underneath or paint over everything. I leave some of what I have worked on to show out underneath the layers that I'm putting on, these layers of highlights and what have you. And it helps with the modeling and creating opportunities for more detail. Creating beautiful trees in a painting has always been a highlight for me. And I just love these characters that these trees bring into my landscape work. They feel like individuals, almost like an individual person, so to speak. Every tree has its own unique personality, and I'm working on those details to just bring about the life in that tree. Using a number 1 nylon hairbrush, I'm just going over and really tweaking those highlights now so that it can really start popping and add to the depth dynamic in the painting. I earlier used a hog bristle brush to kind of just work on a little bit of the detail of the foliage, adding more texture to that. And then on the road you can see I've added some color and some depth there. Now we can have a closer look at that tree. There you can see all those details that I've put in. I'm just refining it back into the darks just to get that roundness and shape and to bring it out. And I'm just doing the final details using that number 1 a nylon brush to get those little bits of twigs and fine grasses just to look correct. It's not long now. I think I'm pretty much heading towards finishing off this painting, and I'm feeling very excited about how this is all shaping and coming together. And yes, we can see these beautiful clouds coming together. And then I'm putting in some nice cadmium red there, just to fire up that sky, together with a buff titanium, the titanium white contrasting there in the highlights. And then just a bit of cadmium red and lemon yellow. And you can really see how the lemon yellow is just coming out and keying up and really creating this magnificent sky, making it pop. just doing the final little details. I can really admire and see the depth and the dynamic and the lighting of the clouds, and just putting in those final little cliffs with a bit of a soft highlight on the distant mountains. We can see here that there is less red as compared to the mountains in the middle ground coming close to us. We see how the red travels and how the colors become warmer as it comes closer. Also just finishing up those grasses. So it's amazing to see from those beginning references just how far we have come in this painting and this journey of this painting. Just using those mountains and that tree as a reference and the terrain, and just look at how those clouds have turned the entire picture into a completely new a way of looking at this. And yes, I am just about finished now, just putting in those last little details. And I want to just say thank you for watching, and I appreciate if you could leave me a like, a comment, and subscribe so that I can bring you more videos just like this one. Thank you, keep safe, and have a good day further.